North Dakota State has been the definition of dominance since 2011. Multiple wins over FBS teams, 9 national championships, 13 appearances in the semifinals in 14 years, a 9-1 record in the title game, and a 47-5 record in the playoffs, as well as 181 straight weeks and counting of being ranked in the top 25 of the FCS polls. Fans of the school and outside the school have yearned for them to make the jump to the FBS level after 20 years since they moved from Division II, yet the call from a Group of 5 conference has yet to come. The Bizon will look to add another FBS team to their ranks of wins when they travel to Boulder this week and look to go for their 10th FCS National Title this year. This is how North Dakota State became so dominant. But before we get into this, if you enjoy college football content like this, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Also, let me know what your favorite FCS school is and what conference you want to see North Dakota State become a member of in the comment section below. From 1921 until 2003, North Dakota State would be a member of the Division II and was actually a charter member for the North Central Conference. While a member of the Division II, the Bizon would win 8 national titles and finish with a 347, 94-4 record. From 1964 to 2003, they were one of the more consistent teams at the D2 level, having only 2 losing seasons during that period. Guys like Daryl Mudra, Ron Earnhardt, Don Morton, Earl Salmonson, and Rocky Hager all led them to national titles at North Dakota State. In 2003, North Dakota State decided to hire a guy by the name of Craig Bohl, who was brought in to help the Bizon transition from Division II to Division I AA. Bohl was a former defensive back at Nebraska in the late 70s and coached at Nebraska, North Dakota State, Tulsa, and Wisconsin as an assistant before spending time as a defensive coordinator for Rice, Duke, and Nebraska. Bohl would find immediate success going 8-3 in 2003 and 2004, followed by a 7-4 record in 2005. In 2006, North Dakota State would win the Great West Conference title and finished 5th in the FCS polls. They followed that up with another 10-1 season in 2007 and finished in the top 10 of the polls. The issue was, the Bizon were not eligible to compete in the Division I AA playoffs from 2004 to 2007 because of the college football transition rules. In 2008, North Dakota State would join the Missouri Valley Conference, aka the SEC of Division I AA, and would struggle going 6-5 in their first season, followed by a 3-8 season in 2009. That 3-8 season would be the Bizon's last losing season up to today, and they would start a truly amazing run of dominance at the Division I AA level. 2010 would be a delightful appetizer for the dynasty that was building in Fargo as they would go 9-5, losing in the quarterfinals of the Division I AA playoffs, their first appearance in the playoffs in school history. 2011 would be a magical season for North Dakota State. They would blow out both Lafayette and St. Francis by a combined score of 98-9 before going on the road and upsetting Minnesota, an FBS school, 37-24. They would go 10-1 during the regular season, led by a dominant defense and quarterback Brock Jensen. Their defense would step up in the playoffs, allowing an average of 6.75 points per game throughout, including shutting down number 1 seed Sam Houston State, only allowing 6 points against a team that was averaging an FCS best 39 points per game. Linebacker Travis Beck was named most outstanding player with 7 total tackles and a 63-yard reception return as North Dakota State won 17-6 to win their first national title. After the game, Craig Bohl told the media, "Our guys wanted to make sure we returned Bizon football to the national prominence. It's not easy to do. I want to thank them because today we returned Bizon football to national prominence." In 2012, North Dakota State would upset another FBS team, this time beating Colorado State 22-7, and finished the regular season with a 10-1 record once again, and ran over both South Dakota State and Wofford in their first 2 rounds of the playoffs, for a close win over Georgia Southern in the semifinals 23-20, to set up a rematch against Sam Houston State in the title game. North Dakota State ran for 300 yards and Jensen had 3 rushing scores as the Bizon pulled away from Sam Houston State. While the game was tied 10-10 at half, the Bizon would outscore them 29-3 in the final 2 quarters. They became the first FCS school to go back-to-back since App State's three-peat from 2005 to 2007. 2013 saw the Bizon go into Kansas State and beat them 24-21, before basically dominating everyone the rest of the season, winning by an average score of 38.4 points to 10.6 points and pitched 3 shutouts. They would not stop dominating everyone in the playoffs, cruising past everyone including a dominant win over Towson in the title game 35-7, to finish the year 15-0, becoming the first unbeaten FCS champion since Marshall in 1996. Jensen told the AP after the game, "It gets better every time. Definitely that was the last time I'll put on the Bizon jersey, but man, it's been a fun ride." Following the season, Bull would leave North Dakota State to become the head coach at Wyoming and would be replaced by Chris Kleiman. Bull finished with a record of 104-32, winning 4 conference titles and 3 national titles at North Dakota State. He is currently the winningest head coach in North Dakota State history. Bull hired Kleiman as a defensive back coach in 2011 before promoting him to be the defensive coordinator in 2012. When Kleiman took over as head coach, the Bizon were 43-2 going back to 2011 and were not expected to be that great after replacing Jensen, Bull, and 30 other seniors. Instead, the Bizon would put together another amazing season led by breakout star Carson Wentz at quarterback, who threw for 3,111 yards and 25 touchdowns, also rushing for 6 touchdowns on the ground. North Dakota State would beat another FBS team in Iowa State and start the season off 9-0 before being blown out by Northern Iowa 23-3, snapping an FCS record 33-game win streak. The Bizon would survive 2 close games against South Dakota State and Coastal Carolina in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs before dominating Sam Houston State once again, this time in the FCS semifinals. During the title game against Illinois State, the Bizon trailed 27-23 after allowing 2 straight touchdowns in the fourth quarter to the Redbirds. Wentz responded with a game-winning 5-yard touchdown run with 37 seconds left to give North Dakota State a 29-27 win. Kleiman told the media after the game, "With our guys, I never saw any doubt in their mind. The way it went back and forth on kind of the stage was pretty special." They finished the season 15-1. In 2015, Montana would upset North Dakota State 38-35, but they would rebound with 4 straight wins before losing their second game of the season for the first time since 2010. It would end the regular season on a 5-game win streak. Wentz broke his wrist in mid-October and missed 8 weeks in 2015, leaving freshman Easton Stick to step in under center to lead the Bizon to a 5th straight FCS championship game appearance in Frisco. Led by Stick, North Dakota State would beat Montana in a revenge game, Northern Iowa, and Richmond before Wentz was able to return for the title game. Stick would finish 8-0 as a starter that season. The Bizon would run past number 1 seed Jacksonville State 37-10 to win their 5th straight national title. Wentz would be taken 2nd overall in the 2016 NFL Draft by the Philadelphia Eagles, and Easton Stick would take the full reins for the 2016 season. Led by Stick, the Bizon would start the season off 5-0, including a major upset win over number 13 Iowa at Kinnick Stadium, giving the program their biggest FBS win in school history. It would fall to South Dakota State 19-17 before finishing the regular season on another 5-game win streak to end the regular season 10-1. The first round of the playoffs, the Bizon would crush San Diego before hosting South Dakota State in the quarterfinals of the playoffs. The Bizon's 36-10 win over the Jackrabbits would be the second most watched FCS game of all time, with 1.98 million people tuning in on ESPN. It would lose to James Madison in the semifinals 27-17, snapping their national championship winning streak at 5. Heading into the 2017 season, the Bizon came out with revenge on their mind, destroying Mississippi Valley State 72-7 in the season opener, and dominated almost everyone, starting the season 8-0 before losing to South Dakota State 33-21, but finished the regular season on a 2-game win streak. In the FCS playoffs, they destroyed San Diego, Wofford, and Sam Houston State by a combined score of 135-26 to set up a rematch from the 2016 semifinal game against James Madison in the championship game. The Bizon would get their revenge, led by their defense that held the Dukes to a season-low 241 yards and forced 3 turnovers to win the game 17-13. Following the game, Kleiman told the media, "One thing we talk about all the time is leaving a legacy. How are we going to be remembered? The 2017 Bizon are going to be remembered as a group of guys that had a great resolve, smacks adversity right in the face when adversity hit us, and lo and behold, we became national champions for the 6th time in 7 years." In 2018, North Dakota State dominated everyone en route to a 15-0 record, and their 7th FCS national title, surpassing Georgia Southern with the most titles in FCS history. North Dakota State never trailed Eastern Washington in a 38-24 national championship game victory. Stick finished his career as the program leader in passing yards with 8,693 yards, and the all-time FCS starting quarterback wins leader with 49. The win marked Kleiman's 4th and final national championship in 5 years at the helm of the Bizon program. He was named Bill Snyder's successor at Kansas State prior to North Dakota State's semifinal matchup. Kleiman finished his North Dakota State career leading the Bizon to 5 conference titles and 4 national titles, going 69-6 as head coach. Defensive coordinator Matt Entz would be named Kleiman's successor in 2019, and led by freshman quarterback Trey Lance, the Bizon would make history. The Bizon dominated everyone en route to a national title game, a rematch of the 2017 title game against James Madison. The Bizon would beat the Dukes once again 28-20, with safety James Hendrick icing the win with a goal line interception with 7 seconds left. Hendricks also had 8 tackles and a 20-yard touchdown run on a fake field goal in the first half. The Bizon became the first modern-era Division I football team to finish a single season 16-0. During the wild 2020 season, the Bizon would have their most losses in a season since 2010, going 7-3, losing in the quarterfinals of the FCS playoffs. It was also the first time since 2010 they did not win at least a share of the Missouri Valley Conference title. This was due to Trey Lance only playing in one game all season long, or opting out and went third overall in the 2021 NFL Draft, being taken by the San Francisco 49ers. In 2021, North Dakota State would go on another revenge tour starting the season 8-0, dominating everyone, before falling to South Dakota State 27-19. They'd finish the regular season 10-1, winning the Missouri Valley Conference, and beating Montana State in the national title game 38-10. The Bizon rushed for 393 yards and 4 touchdowns in their win over Montana State. James Madison was the only team to lose by less than 24 points in the playoff run. Over an 11-year period, North Dakota State would win 9 FCS national titles, which is a level of dominance we have not seen at any level of college football, and it looked like they were going to continue their dominance in 2022 as they would make it back to the national title game, especially with the likes of James Madison and Sam Houston State leaving to join the FBS. But throughout the reign of dominance, besides James Madison, there really has only been one team that has been able to compete at a high level against the Bizon, and that was their arch rivals, South Dakota State. But when South Dakota State was able to beat North Dakota State during the regular season, usually the Bizon would find a way to win in the playoffs if they were to match up with each other. That was until 2022, with both making the national title game, but for once in the playoffs, the Jackrabbits would get the better of North Dakota State, giving them their first national title loss, and giving the Jackrabbits their first national title in program history. During the 2023 season, questions around whether North Dakota State's dynasty being over began to arise after losing to both South Dakota and North Dakota early into the season. The North Dakota loss, a 49-24 shellacking, was the largest margin of defeat for the Bizon since 2005. This was North Dakota State's second 24-plus loss to a Dakota team in less than a year, as they had lost to South Dakota State 45-21 in the national title game. But in that game, North Dakota State had lost guys to injury in the transfer portal weeks before. Where the North Dakota game was different was the way they lost the game. Usually the Bizon would dominate teams with a tough rushing attack, a stout defense, and would take away your will to win. This time around, rival North Dakota would be the one doing that to the Bizon. The Fighting Hawks took the Bizon's will to fight away. There was no rally, nor was there any sign of one in the second half. UND stepped on their collective necks and never gave them an ounce of hope. They dropped to number 14 in the rankings, which was their lowest spot in 13 seasons. North Dakota State would win their next 2 games, but lost to South Dakota State 33-16 on the road, giving them their third loss and not a single win against a Dakota team that season. They finished the year with 2 dominant wins, followed by a dismantling of Drake 66-3 in the first round of the FCS playoffs, but the second round would set up a tough test. The Bizon would travel to Bozeman, Montana to take on Montana State, and pulled off an upset 35-34 in overtime. They then got their revenge against South Dakota, the 3 seed, demolishing them on the road 45-17. Their 2023 season would come to a heartbreaking end in Missoula, Montana, when they fell to number 2 seed Montana 31-29 in a thrilling double overtime game in the snow in the semifinals. This was a game of the year candidate for me, and is a game I highly recommend to go back and watch if you have not yet seen it. It was such a fun game, and the snow made it even better. A week before the Montana game, Matt Entz would take an assistant job at USC, ending with a 60-11 record as head coach and 2 national titles as well as 2 Missouri Valley Conference titles. North Dakota State would hire Wyoming offense coordinator Tim Polasek to be their next head coach. Polasek was an assistant for the Bizon from 2006 to 2012 and 2014 to 2016, or going to Iowa and Wyoming. North Dakota State Athletic Director Matt Larson said, having been at North Dakota State 2 different times, Coach Polasek understands what it takes to be a Bizon, appreciates our long history and tradition, and has the diverse experience to continue moving our football program forward. He was part of 4 national titles in Fargo and is taking over a program that had 7 losses in 2 years. Polasek spoke on the opportunity, saying, "I am absolutely ecstatic to be back home at North Dakota State. It means so much to return to such a special place that has been incredibly formative professionally and personally. I am deeply honored to be able to give back to Fargo, the region, and the Bizon football program." He had been working as a part-time assistant at Division III Wisconsin Stevens Point, and also as a lumberjack on the side to make money back when he started his career. Polasek was hired as North Dakota State's graduate assistant and had to sell golf clubs to get him the money to drive to Fargo. He slept in the basement of the Fargo Dome after arriving. He eventually worked his way up from GA to offense coordinator. Craig Bull spoke on him in 2020, saying, "Their burning desire to continue to learn has been evident. been neat to see him grow. The sky's the limit for him. I'm convinced he's going to be a great head coach. Coming into the season, North Dakota State is the number 2 team in the FCS preseason poll, behind South Dakota State, and ranks as the 62nd best program in all of college football across all divisions, according to Bill Connolly. Factoring their dominance in the 2010s, there were projections that they would finish as the middle of the pack of the Big Ten West, according to Jeff Zagari's national ranking. The Big Ten West didn't exist until 2013, but if it had, and it had included North Dakota State, Zagari thinks the Bizon could have won it. For years, people have wondered why North Dakota State has not made the jump to the FBS after dominating for so long. They have watched as FCS rival powers have made the jump, with some finding early success, i.e. App State and James Madison. Many people around the program feel it needs to happen, lest the program get left behind. There have been Twitter accounts made trying to get the program to move up. Larson spoke on the idea, saying, "A lot of things have changed in the last 10 years. You'd be crazy if you weren't looking internally about what's best for you. Where the school is located is the biggest issue, as there really is no Group of 5 conference near them geographically." Former athletic director Gene Taylor explained, "We left Division II because it was similar to what it is now. Cal Davis left, Northern Colorado left, Northern Iowa had left, the D2 world was changing, and our president felt the university, research, enrollment was growing, and we needed to make the move. The Bizon have seen an attendance drop due to how dominant they have been, and have developed the championship or bust mentality. The Bizon have had just 3 losing seasons since 1964. North Dakota State didn't play an FBS team from 2016 until a late loss at Arizona State in September of 2022. This is because no FBS school wanted to schedule them. This is a high-risk, low-reward game. There are even rumors Colorado is trying to get out of their game this year. The struggle really applies to the FCS games as well. The Bizon need to pay in 6 figures just to get some home non-conference FCS games. They have become a victim of their own success. People around North Dakota State and the Group of 5 conferences agree. If North Dakota State was located in Texas or Virginia, or a different part of the country, it would be an FBS program by now. Geography is the biggest hurdle for the Bizon. They're not a natural fit anywhere. Being a football-only member would be ideal from a travel perspective, but Group of 5 conferences don't favor doing that, even if it is where most of the money comes from. The MAC does not want to move out west. Mountain West could be a fit, but the conference doesn't like having a team located in the Central Time Zone, does not feel the need to expand right now. The American chose to expand in Texas rather than out west when they considered Air Force, Boise State, Colorado State, and San Diego State a few years back. Conference USA could be an option, but is more viewed as a lateral move than upward move with the level of competition, but could get them at the seat at the table down the road. The issue is the conference extends from Virginia to New Mexico. North Dakota State also does not fit in the Sunbelt footprint. If the Bizon were to make the move to the FBS, they would want to do it as a football-only member as well for the time being. They have built up their facilities to be FBS caliber over the past decade, so when the call comes, they will be ready. The Smash Mouth football team will try to defeat a hyped-up Colorado team on Thursday to start their season. Can they give Deion Sanders and co. a sour taste in their mouths to start the season? Who knows? But what do you think? Will North Dakota State ever become an FBS team, and if so, which conference? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out one of my other videos YouTube thinks you will love right here. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember to embrace the grind.